My heart is to see God's people full of passion and the fire of God, hungry for His presence on a daily basis, full of His power and having a positive impact on the world and those around them, living a life of freedom and victory. This is Running with Fire.
The more we surrender to God, the more we sacrifice, the more we give up, it leads to freedom, joy, fulfillment, excitement, satisfaction, and fruitfulness. All in. We're all in. Everybody. You know why we're all in? We're created to be all in. The issue is, what are you all into? See, I find God year in and year out, month in and month out, is always calling me to be a bit more all in. And the more I get all in, the more the heavens open over our lives, over my life. Whatever you give to God, whatever sacrifice you make for Him, He says, I'll repay you 100-fold. I wonder how many of you know what an oxymoron is. An oxymoron is contradictory words put together, like government worker, or Microsoft works, diet ice cream, or make haste slowly. And someone had the nerve come up to me at the end of the first service and says, I've got an oxymoron for you: hard-working pastor. You can visit him in Auckland Hospital. He won't be out for a long time. We see it in the Bible. I like to call them oxymorons. They're probably more paradoxes. For example, to the barren woman, God says in Isaiah 54, verse 1, sing like miserable. So sing like it's an opposite. And Christianity works in opposites, works in paradoxes. You have to do the opposite to what you feel is the answer. For example, you want to receive, you have to give. If you want to live, you have to die. You want to reap, you got to sow. You want to gain, you have to lose. So it's all these opposites. One of the tragedies is far too many Christians never get it. They never put the connection together. So they go the world's way, and so to receive they get. You know, to live they look after themselves. And then they kind of come to the conclusion, well, this Christianity is it's not working. Well, it doesn't work unless you understand doing the opposite to what you feel. But the world screams at you, don't do the opposite. And so we've got to need this breakthrough in our lives. So when it comes to being all in for God, we need to have that revelation that you almost got to do the opposite. You know, that we've got to understand that the more we surrender to God, the more we sacrifice, the more we give up, it leads to freedom, joy, fulfillment, excitement, satisfaction, and fruitfulness. So you have to kind of like, some people can't get, well, you know, this all-in business, like surrender to God. We think, well, look, if I surrender and give up my plans and my will and my, you know, all the things I want to do, looking after me, if I give all that up, surely I'm going to lose. Surely I'm going to be more miserable. God says, no. That's actually the pathway. When you do the opposite, when you lose your life, you actually find it. To get that revelation is an extraordinary thing. And you really need to pray to God to open your eyes to see, open my eyes to see that this is actually the way that it works. So since I said last time, I understand that for some of you, this call to all in feels unattainable because you're doing life tough. You know, you're hurt, you're suffering, things are going wrong, your health is not great, and you think, oh man, the last thing I need to hear is all in. Well, I understand that. So what I'm really trying to say to you is, I want to help you to take one step. Hopefully a significant step to being more all in than you are today. The Chinese proverb, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. And I want to encourage you to take that one step. Ask God what it is. Now, the truth of life is every one of us is actually all in. We're all into something. The only question is, what are you all into? Some of you are all into a career. You'll sacrifice everything for a career. Some of you are all into making money. And as long as it makes money, you're all in. You'll work 50, 60, 70 hours if you have to, because that's what you're all into. Some people are all into family, and that's fine, but if family just takes priority even over God, or you're all into a holiday or holidays or a hobby. Others here are all into shopping. Every chance you shop till you drop. You may be incredibly busy. You're stressed out and someone says, hey, can we go shopping? You're there. Why? Because you're all in to shopping. Some are all into a sport or self-care or movies, social media, screen time, Xbox. Some of you are all into Fortnite. Big buzz on this side of the church. They thought I didn't know about this. It's the latest gaming craze. Young people, older people, how long are you spending on Fortnite? Are you into Fortnite? Don't forget to stop for a bathroom break. All in. We're all in. Everybody. You know why we're all in? We're created to be all in. The issue is, what are you all into? Because all of these other things, in the end, they never satisfy. They never deliver what you thought they would deliver. The only thing that delivers in your life is when you're all in to God. It's the only thing. Only thing that will go is all in to God. That's the answer. And that's what God wants us to do. So this series is a series on freedom. It's on victory. It's on life. It's on fulfillment. It's on satisfaction. It's on blessing. It's the best message you could ever hear, because that's what all in actually delivers. So when you go all in with God, this is what happens, is you never know when or where or how God might suddenly show up in your life. When he's going to suddenly do something that is extraordinary, exhilarating, is fantastic. He just breaks into your life. This is what happens when you go all in. And for myself, just in the last week, I had two situations where God just broke in and left me astounded. The reason I'm left astounded was because when you go all in, it's almost like it puts your Christianity into overdrive. It gets supercharged. Heaven takes notice, and God begins to do things in your life that really amaze you. And if you want that kind of a life, the challenge is you've got to do the opposite to what you think you have to do. You just got to sell out to God. That's the opposite. You think, man, I'll lose everything. No, you'll gain everything. And you'll start finding God to do incredible things in your life. It makes Christianity so exciting. So if the little boy with the 2 fish and the 5 loaves, if he had held on to them, they would have remained as they were, 2 fish and 5 loaves. No big deal. But because he surrendered them and put them into the hands of Jesus, the 2 fish and 5 loaves turned to a miraculous feeding of 5,000 people. So this is what happens when you give what you've got, no matter how small it is, and you genuinely put it in the hands of God. God can take it, multiply it over and over, so it does amazing things. It blesses the multitudes. It just works in things that you never thought would happen in your life. And this really is the testimony of my own life as best I can. I've been all in for God, and so I've given the little that I had as my early 20s. A couple of years back. I surrendered as best I could. I was no superstar. I was no champion, but I said, God, that what I have, I give to you. And to be honest with you, folks, God has taken what he's given me. He's not multiplied it 50 times or 100. He's multiplied it thousands of times. And the what God has been able to take with that little that I gave him and multiply it blows my mind. I think, wow, with little, 2 fish, 5 loaves, what God can do if you just give it over to Jesus. He'll shock you. He really will. That's what All In is about. And this challenge to All In, it's a matter of taking one step. And I'm on a journey too. If All In is here, and I'm started there, I'm probably about here. It's a long way. It's a journey, isn't it? Like, none of us are all in. It's step by step. I find God year in and year out, month in and month out, is always calling me to be a bit more all in. And the more I get all in, the more the heavens open over our lives, over my life. Some of the miraculous results you won't actually see until you get to heaven on the other side, but it's worth waiting for. So one of our staff posed this question about All In. We're discussing it. And it really got me thinking. They said, well, would we do a better job as a volunteer in church if we were paid to do it? So would you serve in a church department if you were paid? Imagine that, paid to be an usher. Anyone want to sign up already? Paid to help in children's church, paid to sing in the music, be in the choir, to host a small group. Would you visit a needy person if you were paid to? Would you attend prayer meetings if we paid you $100 every time you came? How many would come? Too scared to raise your hands, aren't you? Eh? How about if we said, if you come to church every Sunday, at the end of the month, we're going to give you $1,000. How many of you would then come? You're going to need a lot more money before you guys are going to come, aren't you? I mean, I've got to raise the stakes. Just being paid to. But imagine if we were paid for that. Or to attend Limitless or get to kids' church. Imagine if you were paid to do those things. Well, guess what? The Bible makes it very clear that every act of service, every kindness that we do is paid for by God and is paid for and rewarded way beyond anything the world would ever pay you. Believe me, every time you get to a prayer meeting, you will be paid. Big time. I mean, incredibly, you will be paid. It'll be magnificent. Colossians 3:23-24. Whatever you do, do it heartily as to the Lord, not to men, knowing that from the Lord you will receive the reward. Everyone say reward. Reward. Say it again, reward. Reward. Scream it to the person next to you, reward. Reward. Yeah, every act of kindness. For you serve the Lord Christ. Matthew 10, verse 42. Whoever gives one of these little ones only a cup of cold water in the name of a disciple, assuredly I say to you, he shall by no means lose his reward. Whoever put this water in here, you get a reward in eternity for it. God bless you, whoever you are. Next week, there'll be 50 of these lined up here, I'm sure of it. As everyone wants a reward. A lady had a vision of heaven. Listen to this. Even if you're asleep, wake up and listen. And in heaven, God showed her that every act of kindness is recorded and rewarded by God. Every handshake is recorded and rewarded by God. Every act of service. They say, can I take it a step further? They say every smile. So I'm smiling at everybody. Is recorded and rewarded. How many of you like it when someone smiles at you? When you go into a shop and they're all grumpy and no smile, you don't feel good, do you? So God says, every smile, I take note, written down. When you get to heaven, you get a reward for it. Wow. God's a great rewarder. The more you're all in, the more you're going to be rewarded by God. Then it says in Mark 10, 29-30, it says, there's no one who's left houses, brothers, lands for my sake and God, who shall not receive 100-fold. 100-fold. Whatever you do for Jesus, he gives you back 100-fold. Isn't that amazing? So, if I said to you, so I've got in my wallet here a $50 note, that just woke the other half of the church up. There's a $50 note here, which, imagine if I said to you, here's the deal. All right, listen, everyone listening? Ask the person next to you, are you listening? All right. Here's the deal. You give me a $50 note, all right? You give me a $50 note, and I promise to give you $5,000 in return. How many Indians in the place? Who would run to the front like crazy, give me the $50, knowing there's $5,000 in return. In case anyone thought I'm giving this away, let's conclude that point right now so we can move on. Whatever you give to God, whatever sacrifice you make for Him, He says, I'll repay you 100-fold. 100 times more you're going to get for every act of service, every surrender, everything you do for Jesus. My question is, how long will you wait to be all in? How long would you wait to serve in the church? How long would you wait to give God that extra when the rewards are out of this world? Out of this world. Wow. All in is probably one of the greatest messages you can ever hear, because the rewards are beyond belief. If anyone was all in, it was Jesus. What it took Jesus to get from heaven to the cross, become a man, persecuted, ridiculed, spat upon, rejected, betrayed. For Him to go from there through all that to the cross, He had to be all in. Like, there's no turning back. There's no backing away. There's no option B. He was absolutely all in. Do you know why He was all in? Because He had you in mind. He was thinking about you. And He thought, I've got to do this to get you to heaven. Jesus never asked us what He won't do Himself. He led the way in being all in. So now Jesus was all in for me. I want to be all in for Jesus. A 1% change, given enough time, will make a 99% difference in your life. 1% change. We're not asking you to take a quantum leap. We're just saying, would you make another step of surrender? And in time, will make a 99% difference in your life. But you cannot leave it to chance. You can't leave this one step to chance. You've got to make a decision today. If you need to cut up that credit card, read 2 chapters of the Bible, start to serve in church, attend a prayer meeting, put that relationship right, stop sinning, stop swearing, get off the booze, whatever it is, surrender. Come on, make that step today. Before you leave, make a decision. What is it you're going to do? That's an extra step of surrender. Would you go with me to Matthew chapter 4, verse 18? Matthew 4:18. This is an amazing little story. It says there, and Jesus walking by the Sea of Galilee saw 2 brothers, Simon called Peter, Andrew his brother, casting a net into the sea. They were fishermen, and He said to them, follow me, and I'll make you fishers of men. All of us had that day when Jesus said, follow me. Okay, watch this. They immediately, everyone say immediately. What did they? Left their nets and followed Him. And He goes to James and to the others, and immediately, verse 20, immediately they left the boat, their father, and followed Him. This is amazing. Right from the very outset, when Jesus called them, they said, right, we're all in. We leave our boat, we leave our home, we leave our everything we have to leave. Jesus, we are following you all the way. And that group of 12 men went on to turn the world upside down. There's probably never been a more powerful group of people raised up on this planet. And you know why they were so powerful? They were all in. They gave it everything. And friends, that invitation is offered to you and to me and to all of us. All in is more than sitting in church for 90 minutes, if you last that long. All in is a call to be participators, not spectators. All in is about being contributors, not consumers. See, church is not a spectator sport. To come and watch the performance on the stage, which sometimes leaves a lot to be desired. That's all you're coming for. In fact, you cannot go to church. Do you know why? You are the church. Church is not a building with an address. It's not a gathering at a certain time. You are the church. A church is happening wherever you are, whenever you are. You are the church. And the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit are with you. God is there in your presence, with you, helping you. See, Church Unlimited is not a 7-site church with just 7 campuses. Now, we have thousands of churches all across New Zealand and in some other nations as well. Thousands. See, your workplace is your mission field. Your job is your sermon. Your colleagues are your congregation, and you are their pastor. I trust you're taking good care of them. So I want you to ask the next person nice and loud, say, "Hi, Pastor, how's your church doing?" Hey, how's your church doing? How's your preaching going? Salt, light? Huh? Good example, good model, good preaching? Yeah, don't criticize my preaching. I want to check out your preaching. You're a pastor. One of the challenges of the Western church is that we are educated way beyond the level of our obedience. We hear so many sermons, online conferences, and some Christians, I can't believe this, they just want another sermon. They have a sermon, then they go on long, listen to another sermon. And why would you listen to more sermons which you have to obey? Which you have to do something. Because it's not enough just to listen to a sermon. Once you've heard it, you have a responsibility to obey it. Stay away, man. Be smart. Don't get too many sermons in your head. Just obey the ones that you've already got. Because most of us don't. You know, to be in is not about more sermons and knowing more, but it's about doing more. Obeying more. Can you get that? You know what's amazing? In the Hebrew language, there's no distinction between knowing and doing. Knowing and doing. Knowing is doing, and doing is knowing. Without doing what a verse says, you actually don't know it. You know, we quote verses, but the Lord is my shepherd. But unless you allow him to truly be your shepherd, you know the verse, but you don't actually know it. You only know the verses that you're doing. And so knowing and doing, it's all together. Now, James goes further and says in James chapter 1:22, be doers of the word, not hearers of only, deceiving yourselves. So here, watch this. When we keep hearing another online sermon, another conference, apart from NZB, of course, you've got to go to that one. Another conference, you keep listening to all this stuff without doing it, what does the Bible say? You're deceiving yourself. You end up in deception. Winky Pratney brings this out brilliantly. I'm going to put up a graph on the board for you, on the screen for you right now. The whole idea of Christianity is with every step of increased knowledge, there's a step of obedience. Next step of knowledge, next step of obedience. Next step of knowledge, next step of obedience. What happens to most of us, including me, I'm not just getting at you, all Christians, is that our knowledge zooms up, but our obedience doesn't match it. So instead of having that diagonal line, we end up going up here, heaps of knowledge, limited obedience. And do you know what the result is? You have a false illusion of spirituality. You think, man, I'm doing so good. I know it all. You can debate scriptures with people. That's not the issue. The issue is obedience. Doing what we have heard. The best sermons in the world are not those that are the best communicators, the best preachers. It's the ones that we obey and do something with. You see the concept of all in with families. I think we all understand this. I trust we do. All in is especially true of family events and family celebrations. So when there's a wedding, what happens? The whole family is all in. Is that right? Unless there's relationship breakdown, which is a very sad case. But, the thought of not going to your, brothers or sisters or one of your kids' weddings is like, unthinkable. Like, how could you not turn up? Why? Because family is all about all in. We support it. We do whatever it takes to make that wedding a great success. Do you want to know something? As a church, and we've been discussing this as a staff, as a church, Unlimited, we are a family, right? Joined together by God Himself. And we and I want to invite the entire church family, brothers and sisters across this nation and beyond into other nations, to join us, to join your family, to be all in for the vision that God has given this church family. Change lives, heal relationships, bring down the statistics on suicide, substance abuse, self-harm, and poverty. Raise the spiritual temperature of yourself and your family, of the Church of New Zealand and the church in the Western world. Help turn our nation to Jesus. Let's do this together. Let's do it together, family. You are a part of the family, is that right? If you're not part of this family, you wouldn't be sitting here. And you might say, yeah, but I don't contribute much. Well, that's like saying if you've got 3 kids, 3 boys, and one of them doesn't turn up to Christmas dinner, you say, oh, well, it doesn't matter, we've got the other 2, and they're all the same anyway. Hello? They're not all the same. That one's unique, and you want that unique one there, because what each individual offers is unique. You represent Christ in a way that no one else on planet Earth can represent. You're a unique manifestation of Jesus. That's why you are important. And I believe, and I'm convinced now, that this call of God on our church family to be all that God wants it to be, He's asking us to be all in. Because it's not just a call on me. I can't do it. It's not even just a call on the leaders, it's a call on the whole family. We've been saying one step can move you into a whole new life. One step can open the heavens over you. For some of you, maybe that one step, that one decision, that one sacrifice is being all in with the church family. The one step, the one sacrifice, one decision that I'm asking you to make today. Join your family, your brothers, your sisters, and say, I'll do my bit to what God has called this family to do. In Jesus' name. One step is all that it takes. The smartest thing that you could ever do with your life is this. Something I did 3-4 decades ago now. Is to the best of your ability, totally surrender your life to Jesus. Be all in for Him and watch what God does in and through your life. It will result in a life that is beyond your dreams and expectations. All in and all out for the all in all.
Thanks for watching Running with Fire with Bhana from Church Unlimited. Church Unlimited meets in a number of locations across New Zealand and overseas. We would love to have you as our guest.